everybody. It is Blue Jape, and whenever I want to hear the latest topics, and whenever I want to hear some dope-ass music, I keep it locked right here on the Fishbowl Radio Network.
Welcome to School Days, Help for Moms and Dads of School-Aged Kids. I'm Danita Bailey.
And I'm David Bailey.
Today we're talking about the benefits of having a mentor for your child. According to a study by Mentor, the National Mentor Partnership, 1 in 3 young people, that's 16 million youth ages 8 to 18, don't have a trusted adult outside of their home who believes in them and who they can turn to for guidance. Of those 16 million, 9 million face a variety of day-to-day challenges that put them at risk for falling off track.
And this isn't just a socioeconomic issue. Students who experience divorce, mental illness, bullying, and many other types of challenges can benefit from a trusted adult outside of their parents to confide in and glean wisdom from. So I know for me personally, I didn't really have I guess you could say my coaches, my sports coaches growing up were mentors for me. Mm-hmm. Not in a direct one-on-one sit down and take me through a process type of mentoring, but I definitely looked up to my coaches and like in high school, but I didn't really get a true mentor until I got to college. Right. Who I met, name is Gene Tibbs. I'm going to give a shout out to him, University of Pittsburgh. He's still there ministering to students to this day. And that was over 20 years ago now. But he's the first man that really, pulled me aside and really began to take me through a journey of understanding who I am, my purpose, understanding my call, how, what I studied in school related to, who I am and where I'm going. So how about you, babe?
Yeah, I hadn't really thought about this, even though I was going to ask you the question, did you have a mentor? But I did. So our pastor and his wife were very integral in college, our college pastors.
So you didn't really get a mentor until college either?
No, I can't really think of one. But our college pastors were always there to talk to us. And in fact, we would always joke that we could not call them on the way to class because we would miss class. Uh-huh. They were very serious about investing in us and pouring into us. And they were the kind of people that, you would just kind of walk along with them. So if Pastor Erica was doing laundry, you were doing laundry too, or whatever, that kind of mentoring.
Right.
So I was, very impacted by them, and so many other people were greatly impacted by them. But it's important to have somebody that you can just confide in and that can give you guidance and accountability and things like that.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So we have 2 guests today who both have extensive experience in mentoring, and we can't wait to talk to them. I'm excited to have them here. But before we go any further, I do want to say that it takes a village. If you hear a great parenting tip or nugget of advice, share it with your parent friends. Facebook it, Instagram it, tweet it, link it in, and add the hashtag School Days Show and I Am School Days. And also, we do want you to be a part of the show. So if you have questions or you want to share your experiences with mentoring yourself or mentoring that you experienced, or your child being mentored, we'd love to hear from you. So give us a call at 214-431-5062. So let's introduce our first guest.
All right. First, I'd like to introduce Adam Grubb. He is the pastor to students at the community of Lake Ridge. He is pastor to my son, DJ. Now he's in 5th grade. So Adam received his bachelor's in Christian ministry at Hardin-Simmons University and his master's in family ministry from the Lodson School of Theology. Is that at Hardin-Simmons as well?
Yes.
All right. He has 15 plus years of ministry experience with churches and parachurch organizations. He has two. No, you don't have 2 wives. He has a wonderful wife. That would be an issue. We'll talk about that later on. Yeah. Talk to me after the show's over.
Okay.
He has a wonderful wife and 2 children. Adam's heart is for students to fall in love with Jesus, realize God's calling on their lives, for them to be world changers for Christ, and to equip and partner with parents to be the primary spiritual influence in their kids' lives. Adam, we're so glad you're here today. Welcome.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here.
And we have Lawrence Marshall. Lawrence was born in Shreveport, Louisiana. He's the only male of 3 kids and raised in a single-parent household. Lawrence was influenced by his mother and mentor to stay away from gangs, drugs, and influences in the neighborhood and further his education at Langston University, where he received a BS degree. After relocating to Dallas in 2000, Lawrence became an active volunteer in various youth programs and activities before establishing his own Christian nonprofit mentoring program that would cater to at-risk youth called Integrity Mentors, or we like to call it I Am. Lawrence and Nikki married in September of 2006. They have 3 children together, Kylie, Jaden, and Ramon. Am I saying that right, Ramon?
You are absolutely right.
Both Lawrence and his wife share a passion for mentoring youth and volunteering in the community. So welcome, Lawrence.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you guys for coming. So I first want to ask Lawrence, tell us little bit about Integrity Mentors and what you guys do.
Sure. Integrity Mentors is a mentorship program. We offer a variety of different programs, partnered with you guys, Noggin, to help our kids be well-rounded in the classroom. We have a monthly mentor session where folks can come and volunteer and serve to support the at-risk kids there, boys and girls, ages 12 to 18. And we actually have a session coming up this Saturday, the 23rd, at 10 a.m. in Randall Mill, off of Randall Mill and Cooper. But the goal is for the program, the monthly sessions, is to provide a space where kids can be open and transparent about issues that they're dealing with. We have food catered in. We have a topic that's pre-planned, whether we invite someone externally to come and talk about, or find a creative way to engage the youth on that topic, or one of the leaders like myself would lead the discussion. Then we go on an activity. It's usually something that they may have never been exposed to before, whether it's horseback riding, extreme go-karts. We serve in church organization, feeding the homeless, archery, painting. So it's a variety of different things that we try to expose the kids. It's more so the creative environment to where they can link their first-time experiences to Integrity Mentors, and hopefully foster some friendships there within the organization, which they've had. So it's, as you mentioned, we've been around for 12, going on 13 years now. So
wow.
Looking to continue to partner with other organizations and churches out there to make a great impact.
Yeah. Adam, what has been your experience with mentoring, and how did you end up in this space here?
Sure. I mean, I think it's just something that I benefited from as a kid, and having just wonderful mentors, and most of them came through church but also teachers or coaches, kind of this along the same lines of just really benefiting from conversations and relationships with strong men and who helped me have conversations that I need to have and figure out, who I am. And so I always wanted that to be a really important part in ministry, is that we are truly partnering with people and having as many godly influences, as many positive influences speaking into our kids' lives as possible. So that because just like you said at the very beginning, it takes a village. We can't. Our capacity only goes so far, and to be able to equip and partner with other people who are willing to speak into kids' lives, it's how it happens, and so it's really important for our ministry.
Absolutely. Yeah. So when I think of mentoring, I think of very formal, sit down, go have coffee, or I guess if you're a kid, you're probably not having coffee.
Coke.
Ice cream,
Sure.
Coke, with somebody. So, but are there kind of different ways to mentor, different levels of mentoring?
Yeah. There's a variety of different ways. There's really no formal way to mentor someone. It could be a child, it could be an adult. It just really all of mentoring is just come along somebody, recognizing that there's a need, and whether you can pour into that individual or pray with that person for God to send you someone, and then even if you connect them with someone else that can have an impact in their lives, what they're specifically going through, then you're still walking with that individual through that process. So you're comforting them. You're just giving them confidence, knowing that they can work through that situation with God's help and with your support. So it really is really no formal process. I mean, you can be at a game, one of your kids' basketball games, and you have a single mom. I was talking to a single mom yesterday, actually, and her son, she was telling me that her dad is in Arlington, and they live in Arlington, but there may have been 10 games out of, she threw a number, maybe 300 games that her son was involved with that dad has never, has participated. Yeah. So so I used that opportunity to, hey, this is my son is in the process of potentially getting on this team. And in my spirit, I know that my schedule is busy, but my heart reaches out. You guys know me. So I'm talking with her, how can I get plugged in with this young man, get him alongside my son, and what I'm pouring into my son, how can I use that as opportunity to pour in him as well? So again, that wasn't nothing planned. It was nothing formal. Hey, give me a call to schedule an appointment. It was more so God touching my heart, and I'm recognizing a need, and hopefully, this is an opportunity for me to mentor her kid as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would echo that, just to say that it really helps us to meet kids where they are. Whatever they're involved in, whatever activities they're a part of. If you will show them that you care, it's so much easier to have a voice there, or to be able to have those conversations.
Right.
Being consistent. Being consistent. 'Cause you guys, I think the biggest problem there is that exists is inconsistency. Fathers are in and out of their lives. They say they're going to come pick them up or do this or do that, and it doesn't happen. I even grew up without a father until I was 24, 25, no father presence whatsoever. And so many men that came through our lives that wanted to pose as a father figure promised me all these things. Hey, I'm going to come pick you up. We're going to spend the weekend. And I kid you not, I remember many times sitting on the porch, bags packed, sun goes down. My mom has to come out there and pick me up from crying and just bawling my eyes out. Bring me back in the house, make me a favorite meal to try to make things better. But it's so we need to provide consistency in these kids' life. If you say, that's why God put it on my heart to name it Integrity Mentors, because whatever you're doing in private, you need to be displaying that in public as well. So being consistent. If you say you're going to do something, do it. If you can't, then give me a reason why you can, and let's try to plan or schedule a follow up. Yeah. So just being consistent is most important.
That's good.
So who can benefit from mentoring? Is it a particular type of young person, or talk to me a little bit about that?
Sure. I would say, anyone can. Every person can, no matter what you're going through, you can always learn something.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's, if you are willing to kind of be a little bit vulnerable and allow people to speak in and to see, hey, this is what I'm struggling with. This is what I'm dealing with. Every situation can use a mentor. Now, obviously, there are more sensitive situations that probably need more of a kind of a designed mentorship, where specifically somebody is going through something, and you would say, hey, I need to find somebody who's maybe an expert in this field, or somebody who has gone through this themselves, and kind of pair those people up. Just because it's easier for somebody who has been through something like that.
Yeah, I agree. I can be honest and say that I have 3 mentors, from the nonprofit side, just me personally, and just from a spiritual standpoint as well. I am not afraid to admit that, hey, I don't know everything. I need help. And praying with these individuals, and, hey, this is the situation. Even if they don't know, or if they have some direction, hey, God, give us, plant the seed, or give us some encouragement to further this conversation, discussion, until we find the answers. Yeah. So it doesn't matter what age you are. You have to be, just as Adam mentioned, you have to be transparent and honest with yourself. Hey, I can't. A lot of us, we don't like to ask for help. Plain and simple. Yeah. No one likes. Well, there's many people that don't like to ask for help. So I don't want to say nobody, because I don't mind. I'm sure there's others. But it's important to just be transparent and understand that you don't know everything.
Right. So I'm just going to cross my arms and say, so I'm a good parent. Why does my child need mentoring?
They're all I need.
Yeah, I'm all they need.
I'm all they need. Right.
So why?
So a parent who's saying that they are all they need.
Yes, I'm not saying that.
Yeah,
but
absolutely. Yeah. As we were kind of mentioning before, if you will allow yourself to open, I think if you're willing to open yourself up to other people speaking in, you're going to find somebody who connects with you differently than what a parent does.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're able to have a conversation with somebody who is involved in a sport or involved in an activity that you're involved in, it's an immediate opening. It's an immediate door that's open that says, hey, this person likes the same things that I like. They're
Right.
interested in that type of thing. And you're not going to connect with everybody the same way. You know, you're around mom and dad all the time. And so we should be open to and excited about bringing other people around us in order to speak into. I mean, I'll say specifically, my son is really interested in music, and so we are reaching out to and having somebody come alongside him and say, hey, can you mentor him? Can you train him? Can you help him get better at his craft because this is what he loves?
Right.
You know, and so finding those people who are really involved in those things that they love, I think.
Yeah, I agree. And if you have a parent that is saying that no kid is perfect, no kid is doing exactly what is expected of them all the time, and so that applies to everyone. That being the case, there's many situations. I'm sure you guys have probably been in the same situation where you've talked with a parent, and you hear the parent telling you, says, well, I've constantly told him X, Y, Z, and I can come behind her and have a same conversation. Yeah. I could probably write down exactly verbatim what she said, take that message, and take him or her to go get
strategy.
some ice cream and say exactly those words.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And they'll sit back and, you know what, my mom told me that. Maybe I should listen.
Right.
Or they don't remember mom said that.
Yeah.
But suddenly it's genius.
Yeah, I mean, it's you know, what I've seen is kids have it in their mind that parents are supposed to say that. It's like this imaginary book, this manual. This is what the parents, this is what you're supposed to tell your kids. And the kids have gotten access to that, and they say, well, he's just going to tell me that because it says here. Not knowing that that's coming from heart. And this is why we're telling you this because it's going to help make your life better. But then when you have a stranger completely say the exact same thing, and they wholly negate everything that they thought before, and well, maybe I should listen to this person. And the mom is sitting there, well, I've been telling you that every day.
Yeah.
Why aren't you listening to me? So I think it's important for everybody to know. We actually have in our program a couple of families where the mom and dad are actively involved in the kid's life. They're happily married, but it says, you know what, we want to enroll our kid in your program because I think it just makes it more impactful. And we use a triangular effect, meaning that we coordinate with the parents to ensure, okay, what is it that you're teaching at home? This is what we're teaching in our environment. Do we agree? So then we can pass on tips, and the kid doesn't have to know. It's a little strategy, if you will.
That's awesome.
So whatever they're being taught at home, when they come to us, they're being taught the same thing when they go back. So you're just reinforcing what they're learning at home and what they're learning in the environment that we the God has put us on the heart to expose them to.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times, we've got the Charlie Brown parent thing happening. The wah, 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 and they just can't even hear us. It's just white noise.
Right.
So it helps, just like what you guys are saying, it helps to have somebody who doesn't have a vested interest, Sometimes they feel like we are biased, and somebody who's totally outside the house and doesn't have the bias that we parents do to say even the same exact thing can be so helpful and impactful.
I think another huge point is that most things are improved by community, and a natural thing for us to run to and a dangerous place for us to run to is in isolation. And so when we have that attitude of I'm supposed to fix this, I'm supposed to control this, it's mostly a derivative of pride or of us going to a place of isolation. And if just like Lawrence was saying, if we're open to being willing to have conversations with even other parents who may be going through the same thing, you're going to glean so much wisdom from that.
Yeah.
You're going to be able to help you with not having to stand alone in isolation, because it's a hard place to be.
I know when with Noggin Educational Coaching, when I come in or one of our other coaches come into the homes and we're sharing insights, sometimes I can tell the tension between the child and the parent.
Sure.
And sometimes just having someone in between. I've even had parents say, look, I've tried, I know how to do the math or whatever, but there is still that, you're my mom or you're my dad, you don't really know what I'm going through. you can't understand. And sometimes it's just someone else coming in and being a different ear, or just saying it a different way. Or I'll be working with a family, and then the mom will say, "I just told them that the other day," So sometimes it may be just hearing it from a different person who's not as close to the situation, but can speak the same truth into the lives of young people. So
sure. I agree. That's good. I agree.
So are there any milestones or events that parents might want to look out for that might prompt them to want a mentor, like divorce or something like that?
As far as you're talking about, like workshops or?
No, things that happen in the life of a child, milestones or events or in the life of a family that may prompt them and say, oh, we might need somebody who's an extra set of hands, a mentor.
So you're talking about if your parent recognizes maybe, well, even after an event may have occurred and they notice
Right.
some major changes in their kid and not necessarily knowing how to approach it, but they do know something's wrong.
Yeah. But
you'll-
different things might there be?
Right. So yeah, of course, just anytime when you see even a small, even if you recognize that there's a small shift in the person's personality, their eating habits, behavior, there's no fever, they're not coughing, so they're not sick, and you're aware that something may have happened, whether it is a divorce or even if you're not aware, maybe they're being bullied at school,
Yeah, that's
and
important.
they're not sharing that information with you. It's good to just really have a conversation with them, putting them in a neutral environment. I would suggest taking them outside the home, doing something, maybe going to the park where there's minimal distraction, going to get some ice cream in a quiet area.
Like ice cream is the common thread. There's a
distraction.
lot of ice cream going on in mentoring.
And so
Everybody, if you need mentoring, you need some ice cream with
ice
it.
cream, it always helps.
Baskin Robbins sales are going up.
So it's good to take them to an environment, really have that heart-to-heart conversation with them. Hey, and let them know that, hey, like in my case with Jaden or Kylie, I've recognized your behavior has changed. You used to do this, but now you're not doing those things. And is there something going on that I can help you with, or that I can pray with you about? That way, it kind of sets the tone. That because sometimes kids don't even recognize that their mood or their whole demeanor has changed. They just know that something has happened, and I don't want to share this with anyone. But when you set that foundation that, hey, there's someone that really loves you or cares about you, has recognized that, hey, you're hurting or you're upset or you're sad, then hopefully that opens that'll make some room for some conversation to take place. And it may not happen right there at that moment. It may happen over a period of time, but it's important to have that conversation as opposed to just going out and seeking some help immediately. But you want to kind of start at home, because then that way you guys can foster some healthy conversation. Then if it's necessary to go out to seek additional assistance, whether it's a counselor or a mentor or a pastor, then you can do so. But getting the kids permission, hey, is it okay that I bring Lawrence in or Adam in this conversation? Then they give you the approval. Then that way you're holding their hand through the process. You're being transparent, and you're showing them that you love them, and hey, I care about you being healthy. So what do I need to do to help you get there?
You said something real quick that I want to piggyback off of. So you said you mentioned counselor. So if my child's in therapy, would they also benefit from a mentor? Is there a difference between seeing a therapist and having a mentor? I mean,
I would say so. I think a counselor is probably more of almost. I don't know if dire situation is kind of the best way to say that, or maybe just more specific conversation. And that's kind of what I was alluding to earlier with the kind of the expertise in a field. If your child is going through something that is, that they need to talk to somebody who knows about that, who has studied that, who their field is that line of work. Right. I don't think it's mutually exclusive. I think some people benefit from different voices differently. So if a counselor is speaking into your child's life, and that is the most positive voice, and that is something that they are, it's teaching them positive coping mechanisms with whatever they're facing or whatever they're going through. It can be a mentor, but I don't think it ever hurts the situation to add just as I mentioned earlier, just as many positive influences in your children's lives, you know, and I would say, just kind of piggybacking off the last question too, is, I mean, anytime a major environment shift happens, or I mean, it could even just be aging up to a new, you know, to a new stage of life, or changing a new school, or I mean, we've just recently experienced a major transition move to a new community, new schools. I mean, just everything in life has changed, and we've seen it even in our children affect them differently. You know, our daughter's the life of the party, and she's friends with anybody, you know, and our son's a little bit more introspective, and it takes a little bit longer for him to find that, you know, that community. And so it's been a little bit of a difficult transition. So I think if you're just observant and you are actively pursuing relationship with your important conversation with your children, it's going to be easy for you to pick up those hints of negative negative actions that happen because they're maybe going through something.
Right.
Yeah, I'd like to also mention that, you know, even if parents, caregivers, uncles, aunts, even if you feel that, hey, I know my niece and nephew, I know my kids, and I haven't seen a shift, even though divorces happen, we've lost their grandmother, whatever the case is, it's still good to have that conversation. Hey, here's what happened. I know your father and I recently split, and how is that affecting you? And kids are resilient. You guys know, so kids can go through so much trauma and still bounce back and not show signs of depression or sadness or anger. And you would never know. So the parent would look at their kid and think that, okay, everything's fine when everything is not fine until something happens that triggers that anger or that sadness or that frustration, and it just blows up, and then it's too late. You know? So I think it's really good to keep the communication open. Again, recognizing that some changes has occurred, and sitting down with them and says, this has happened. You know, what are you thinking about that, or how's that affected you, and monitor it from that point, because then that places, again, it sets the tone with communication that, hey, my parent or my caregiver, my aunt, uncle, whoever that may be, this adult cares about me, loves me so much that they took time out to come and ask me, because a lot of times you're not gonna have people that just ask you how's your day and sit there and listen for the response.
Right.
It's good. I think a lot of it too
point.
is important in how you sell things. For some reason, the idea of counseling takes on sometimes almost like a negative connotation, and that's not the case at all. I mean, if we paint that in a positive light and say and help our children, or help people who need to go through something. I mean, there's nothing wrong with you, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we're trying to help you, and this is a really positive thing. So I'm always trying to have conversations with people of saying there's nothing wrong with seeking professional counseling help with situations.
Yes, because so many people are doing, they're just not talking about it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So is there a minimum age when someone should start getting a mentor? Like, what is there a cap on it, or like, you know, right out the womb? Or like, come on, let's go get some ice cream. Yeah, come on, let's go get some ice cream, baby. Yeah, let's go. It's Baskin Robbins.
I think so much of it is just how comfortable those parents are with a little bit of kind of freedom and growth, and as they get some more individuality and identity, is just as they're growing. I mean, obviously, it's much more difficult when your kid is 2, 3, 4 to really glean positive things from that. But I think maybe sometimes in those instances, it's good for parents to have community and be mentored themselves, right? To be able to open themselves up to say, hey, this is the first time I've ever raised a kid that's this age. Yeah. How do you help me in this? And then as the kid starts to get older, it's easier to start doing that. I don't think there's an age, though. I don't think there's a perfect age that says this person. I think it's different with each kid and each family.
Yeah, but not right out the womb, right?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Not right out the womb.
Yeah.
Not right. It probably wouldn't hurt, but no, right up.
Sure.
The parent needs mentoring right
Yeah.
out the womb.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's really important. Just like you mentioned earlier, it takes a village. So it doesn't matter what age. Again, I'm 45, and I have mentors because, hey, I need to make sure that I'm being the best husband, the best father, the best Christian, the best man, friend. In every area of my life, I want to be the best I can possibly be. And being a body of Christ, God expects us to function in the midst of each other, and so that He can bless others through yourself or through someone else, and then impact you, because He expects us to have fellowship. He expects us to have relationship, right? So I think it's good to have those conversations, and sometimes even if you feel that your kid is too young, I mean, it may be an opportunity to if you recognize someone else that you trust, that's a good parent. Maybe say that you're a single parent and your kid is playing on a team with another young man whose mother and father is actively involved in their lives and loves them. It may be an opportunity to maybe fellowship with them, to where the young man in the single parent home sees how to conduct themselves. Because I'm sure the father is actively, positively pouring into her kid. That can overflow into the other kid, right?
Yeah.
So he can take some of those tips, some of those things that he's learning from the other household. The father's mentoring this young man in the single parent home and not even knowing it, because the young man's watching everything he does, listening to everything he says, and he's taking that and he's absorbing it, and he's like a sponge. So you just never know. Mentoring comes in a variety of shades, and comes in a variety of approaches. It's not just one. It's not just one age.
And I would say it doesn't always have to happen one-on-one outside of the immediate, supervision of a parent. If you can actively be involved in a program, like maybe like Integrity, where there are multiple people mentoring, and you're there also. If it's something that you're uncomfortable with, the age of your child being in a one-on-one conversation with somebody that but obviously you're not gonna ask somebody to mentor your kid if you don't have a really trusting relationship with them. And Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry.
No.
How do you vet somebody? What's the best way to do that when you're just asking? You're not going to Integrity Mentors or another big brothers or big sisters. How do you vet somebody that you've chosen?
Intense prayer, first of all.
Sure.
Just prayer and asking God, because if you don't pray before you take action, then you're doing a lot of unnecessary work, and you're going to get exhausted and even more frustrated because you're not finding that person for your kid. So I believe that praying and just asking God to just make it plain and clear, send this, and then list it out. If you got to write it down, write it down. This is what I'm looking for in a mentor for my daughter, for my son.
That's good.
And put it in a safe place, and that's what you're praying over constantly. And God will send you that person, whether it's a mailman. Hey, I couldn't fit this package in your mailbox, and then next thing you know, you feel the Spirit leading to have a conversation. Then the conversation kind of goes that way, and you just never know. So prayer, and then vetting out. Of course, you have to with starting even with prayer. You just really have to observe what type of company you're putting in your life, because that's your family circle. So you want to kind of do your homework. Face social media helps. Let me go look. Okay, this guy, God, I believe you sent me him. So let me go look him up. LinkedIn, Facebook,
right.
Instagram, and those type of things. Find out what kind of environments he's involved in.
He likes ice cream.
Yeah, if he's ice cream. Where do you go? Go talk to some of the cashiers. Talk to some of the cashiers of where he goes and say, hey, how is this? You seen church. Whether he mentioned he's a part of a church. Go talk with he's involved with church. I mean, what area do you serve in? So you can kind of go find out some information about this. And so there's different ways to really do your homework, because again, you don't want to put your kid in a situation where they're unraveling everything that you've instilled in this kid because of their inconsistency or because of something else worse that may happen. We've kind of dealt with that outside of our program, but I've been working with the kid, and he's just forever scarred. I'm working with their mom and the mentor, and we were trying to talk with this gentleman about the situation that occurred, and he's still holding on to it, and I haven't talked to him close to a year now because he chooses to kind of bypass that for right now. When he's ready to talk about it and get some help, then we'll address it at that time. So you don't want to put an inconsistent mentor in someone's life like that. You want to vet them out, take the necessary approach, whether it's talking to a pastor, someone like ourselves, and we'll be happy to walk you through that process.
Yeah, and I think anybody who's willing to be a mentor, there should be as little ambiguity and as little mystery as possible. I mean, you ask a lot of questions and be clear about what your intentions are with that meeting. You know, if you're the parent, you're going to know your child the best, and you're able to take that to this person who's going to mentor your child and say, hey, this is specifically what they're dealing with. This is what they're struggling with. This is the actions that I'm seeing happen on a regular basis, so that there's not a bunch of mystery taken into those conversations. Like you're able to say, and you're able to lean in and to see whether or not that child is open or being honest or being willing to talk about those types of things, because you have a little bit of that information up front,
right.
You know. And so I think just like ask questions if there ever is something that you say, hey, I need to know a little bit more about this, or for you to know more about this. Just that open dialogue with those mentors should be happening a lot.
Yeah.
I think
So should you set up ground rules for the mentor relationship as far as social media, texting, transporting, times of day? Like, how do you set up those parameters in which mentoring, and how and where should it occur?
Yeah, I would say absolutely, especially in today's age. I mean, we're hearing stories just horrible stories every day about people who take advantage of situations like that.
Yeah.
And I mean, as many safeguards as you can set up. Try as much as you can to be, I would say, in a public place where there's not a door closed, there's not a place where anything can be misconstrued or misunderstood, where they're in clear line, kind of vision of people, is a good safeguard. I try to always have, in a car transportation situation, I try to never be alone with a student, no matter what sex that student is. Like it's just a safeguard that you set up for yourself, and I think you have to be even more diligent about that with your students, with your own children, because you don't ever want to put them in a compromising situation,
Right.
Where something can be, where they can be taken advantage of.
And
so times of day. Oh yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I think times of day is huge too. You want it to be the most productive time for them. If it's where they are going to be the most engaged and the most able to, so have a good meal and make sure that they are in, just like you would if you were sending them to a test or sending them to something that they need to be prepared for. They need to. So that they are in their best frame of mind in order to have a conversation that is important and that they need to be having.
That's good. I never thought about that.
Yeah, there's a good tool that we use to train our mentors called Ministry Safe, and it's an online sexual abuse and awareness training. So even parents, if they wanted to have a bunch of tools for parents, just tips that you can go on and where they can teach you how to pick up on key tips and things that will make you suspicious of that mentor, and it gives you a lot of what you call educational information and videos. So we require our mentors to go through that training as well.
Yeah.
Hopefully, because we not only want to protect the kid, we want to protect the mentor as well,
Right.
because we don't want you to put yourself in a compromising situation. We really recommend that the mentors not go inside the home. If they go to the home, pick up the kid, it's good to stand at the door, those type of things. Again, not being in a private place with your mentee. If you find that, and if you're during that vetting process, as you're doing your homework, it's really good to, while you're doing your homework, if you don't want to wait, then create opportunities to where they can have a one-on-one experience, but you're present.
Right.
Whether it's at a park, you're sitting off at a bench somewhere, or it's at a mall, you're there, but you're establishing that relationship, and that way you can kind of observe how he or she is interacting with your child, and then you can continue to have conversations with them. Hey, I think you're doing a good job, or hey, this doesn't look right to me. Let's have a conversation.
Right.
And then you can kind of step away or making a decision from there. But it's just, thinking of ways, finding creative ways to where you can engage them while they engage your kid, but you can also do your homework at the same time.
Yeah.
I would say also two important things is don't try to micromanage the situation, but also don't ignore flags.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
if there's something that pops up that is uncomfortable in any way, don't ignore that. If you are bothered by something that you heard or that you observed, you're the adults in that situation. Like you're able to handle that and to have those conversations with that mentor or with that person, so that you can make sure that you're paying attention to those flags that pop up.
Yes, and single moms, really be careful because you have men that target single moms. Hey, she's attractive, she has a kid. Let me play this role of daddy or father figure so I can get in good with the kid to go straight to the mom. I had to deal with that. That's why I got left on the porch many a times, because he was trying to target my mom. And there was a situation where the guy was teaching me how to play the drums. I believe I was maybe 8 or 10, and he was taught me how to play the drums maybe once or twice. And he was trying to get in through the back door to try to have a relationship with my mom. And my mom kind of recognized that. She's like, no, I'm not interested in you like that. And then he backed off completely. He just disappeared. So had God not have been in my life and, really had his hands on me emotionally, that could have tore me apart.
Wow.
Sure. That wasn't just one instance. So just parents, single moms, just be careful of the mentor's intent. Even young ladies, mentoring, the single fathers, for single fathers, just be careful what the mentor's intents. So to make sure that they're not, coming to pretend that they want to, really pour into your kid, but they're really after you. They're seeking a relationship with you, and just completely shunning the kid when the time is right. So just be careful of those type of things.
Oh, that's good insight.
Advice.
So this kind of moves into same-sex mentoring, different sex mentoring. Is there ever a time when it's appropriate to mentor someone of the opposite sex, or is it just same sex? What's your take on that?
I would say anytime it's a one-on-one relationship, it needs to be the same sex, just so that you eliminate any type of distractions or just people seeing something and thinking things or making things up on their own. I think in group settings, so maybe a teacher or somebody who leads an activity that your student is involved in, they can have a mentoring type relationship with your child in a group atmosphere, group environments, and that's perfectly fine, but anytime you're seeking a one-on-one conversation or relationship, I would always say for it to be the same sex.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Adam kind of hit the nail on the head, so I don't have a whole lot to add. But that's how we're set up, and it's just minimizes distractions. It helps to kind of hopefully to alleviate any issues, any poor perception of what may or may not be going on. So I agree wholeheartedly. Yeah,
I know with Noggin coaching, when we're working with families and going in, is that a coach, if a parent is not even there, if they say, oh, well, my mom or my dad's not here, but they say, come on in, we just tell them, no. We'll reschedule for another time and we'll talk with your parent. But if it is of the opposite sex, that it has to be in a public environment as well. So it is very important because you never know who's looking or what the perception may be of what's happening, what's going on, and so it's extremely important to maintain a level of integrity, no pun intended, and how you mentor that person and reach out to them, because you never know what people are thinking or looking at and how they may perceive it.
Yeah, I think I'm asked to, probably you also. I mean, I'm asked to have conversations with people all the time, with students, and so if it is a conversation that I need to have with a female, I'll always take somebody with me.
Mm-hmm. Right.
That's why I have people who small group leaders, and you know, my assistant in ministry is incredible, you know, and I can take her with any conversation, and I mean, you're just able to relate to them in a different way than I'm able to relate, you know, and so I think you just always have to protect yourself and protect the children also.
Right.
Yeah.
I know, like when I was in the classroom, if it was, say, before school or after school and it was just a female in the room, you know, or anytime really, you know, males or females, is I kept my door open, you know, because, you know, there's just so much out there. And what people can say and perceive, and, you know, there's all types of stories you hear going around. And so, like, there's never a time when my door was closed. If a child's in my room, the door's open, so anybody can see. So they can't say, well, this or that and the other, because it's just a matter of integrity.
Yeah, it just takes one bad response.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
It just takes one, and it's forever ruined. Your reputation.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask you like 5 questions at once because we're running out of time.
No, you're fine.
What is the best way a parent can support the mentor relationship? How involved should they be? Is it okay for them to go on outings? I'm sorry, I'm asking so many things at once, but do you recommend transparency as far as things that happen? If there's an event that happens that's maybe traumatic or whatnot, do you recommend them holding that back or sharing that?
Yes.
What's your response to all of that?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm trying to think exactly
Sorry.
which one to respond to first. No, I think transparency is huge. One of the things that we always try to say is if they're old enough to ask a question about it, they're old enough to have conversations about that.
Okay, that's
you know,
good.
so if you see if there's anything that comes up in conversation, or you're watching a television show and something happens that piques their interest, or they have question about, then I mean, obviously gauge that depending on their age, and you know, be sensitive with maybe questions or conversations that you have, but it's never too soon, I think, to have conversations about really important things in students' lives, and I would also say not to take all of the questions at the same time, but I think as involved as you possibly can be with that relationship. Now, once again, you're going to have to take that with each kid differently. You know, if you see that you being actively involved is having a more negative thing, then you may have to put a little bit of distance there, and you may have to take those conversations how they come.
Yeah.
There's one tip I'd like to recommend is it can take care of a number of things especially during your vetting process or research. Your kid is involved in extracurricular activities, sports, or something like that. Say a guy named Brian is interested in mentoring your son. Hey, my son is having a game on this day. It's open to the public. When you invite him, he comes. There's a variety of things happens. One key thing that happens is if there is some ill will out there, and God to create a situation that is just perfect. And so if there's some ill will out there that involves Brian, somebody will walk up to you and says, that guy is no good, X, Y, Z, and so on and so forth. So the more events and that way you're going to be there regardless. So there's no question of the mentor saying, well, why can't I have one-on-one time? What's going on? Why you have to be there all the time? If that ever comes up. But if you're having these events, or these kids are involved in these extracurricular activities, you're inviting the mentor to be a part of those. You're there. You have to be there. You brought your kid. You're participating.
Right.
But then it also creates an opportunity for, if there's some ill will, if things are going on that you're not aware of, or you may have some positive feedback. Hey, how do you know this gentleman? He is great. You know, he mentors my kid.
That's
so then
great.
that way, you know, it takes less effort off of your shoulder. I'm not saying to relax and don't do your homework, but it just could add to it during your vetting process.
Yeah, and I would say too. I mean, if you're leading a ministry, you're leading an organization where you're pairing somebody, a child, with a mentor. Not everybody's ready to be a mentor. you know. And so
Right.
you have to make sure that you're not just pairing somebody because they come and they say, hey, I'm interested in mentoring kids. Like, you have to really vet them, really know them, and be really diligent about making sure that when people do come to you, you're able to say, yeah, we're going to put your child with somebody who's safe and who is going to be a really positive influence in their lives.
Gotcha.
And so I think that's just one more safeguard there.
One last quick question is, so we've been talking about getting mentoring for our children. What about being a mentor?
Yeah.
Do I need to be perfect, flawless, be walking around sinless? So how would you encourage adults to actually mentor somebody else? What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's really critical. You have somebody, because we have folks come to us. We work with an organization named Vizient out there in Los Colinas, who has some volunteers that I want to mentor a kid, but I have no clue what that looks like or how to even engage. And we're creating a safe environment at the alternative school up there in SRC, and to where these parents or these adults can come in, and we're creating the event, we're creating the relationships, and we're there to kind of monitor it. And we're giving them the tools beforehand. Here's things you can expect. So my recommendation would be to find events that are already going on that involve youth, to where you can just kind of get plugged in. You can kind of, if you haven't done it in a while, you've never done it before, whatever the case is, go to these events, start interacting, engaging, following the process that's set behind the organization, as far as whether it's a background check, training. That way you're getting more familiar with the tools that are out there, the resources that are out there. You're being educated as far as socially, like how do I interact? You may have individuals that want to mentor a kid outside their race. So going to those type of events. If you have a white Caucasian male or female that wants to mentor an African American kid, okay, go to the events where these kids are at, interact with them, engage them, and vice versa. The same thing. I would suggest you doing the same thing, because it helps you to become so you're not socially awkward in that environment.
Right.
And you've kind of brushed shoulders, so you make sure that you know what you know what not to say, you know how to say it. You may have kids coming there in the event that looks, one side of their hair is cornrow, the other side is not. Their clothes, because they just can't afford it, or clothes is just hanging off of them. Yeah. And you're not looking at them with this look, but you've kind of been in that environment long enough. You interacted with kids in that environment long enough to where, okay, I know how I should conduct myself. When you're ready and you want to find an organization that you want to get involved with and mentor and maybe be on a board of some sort, then you've gained that experience by doing so, by doing your homework.
Yeah, and I would say a couple of things in kind of looking at yourself, and is, first of all, don't discredit yourself. We have a few sayings that we use a lot of, like, taking your mess and using it as your message. Things that you have been through, things that you have experienced in life are going to help you in situations where somebody else is going through that exact same thing. Right. And also I would say, as long as if you're wanting to be in a mentor relationship with somebody, one of the things that's most important is that you are constantly improving yourself, making sure that you are actively pursuing a relationship with somebody who's mentoring you, and you're reading books, whatever you can in order to help you be better in those situations, is just paramount, I think. So.
Awesome. Okay, this is off script. I know my wife.
Really?
Yes. No.
Really?
It's a
you
one.
have 10 seconds.
Yes, and that's all I need. It's a one-word answer. What ice cream pairs well? What flavor pairs well? Just one answer. What ice cream pairs well with mentoring? Lawrence, one word. Sherbet. All right.
Okay, I'm gonna cheat. I have two: coffee and mint chocolate chip.
Coffee and mint chocolate.
You and I should get ice cream after.
Yeah, come on.
I'm all about the coffee.
You said mixture or just one ice cream flavor?
He cheated.
I cheated.
Yeah,
I did too.
Yeah,
Sorry about that.
So that's over 3 seconds over right now. Yeah.
3 minutes over. Yeah. Okay, so unfortunately, we are out of time. Thank you, Adam, and thank you, Lawrence, for joining us. This was a really great conversation. As always, we want to let you know what's going on with Noggin. So what's going on with Noggin Educational Coaching, David?
Finals are coming up SATs are coming up. STAR tests are coming up. Are you worried? Is your child ready? How do you know they're ready? Have you been monitoring them? If you don't know, talk to me. You can reach me at info@noggineducation.com. We can talk through the different ways to help your child get ready for these exams, the hidden factors that may be affecting your child's ability to do well. Reach out to us, and we can talk you through the process and what's the best plan of attack based upon how much time you have between now and when they take their exam. Talk to me.
Okay, thank you. So also with Noggin Educational Foundation, we are gearing up for our summer program. Our summer program is called SPARK. That stands for Summers Producing Academically Ready Kids. And if you are in the DFW, Dallas-Fort Worth area, we would love for you to come and help us cut and paste and organize our activities for the summer, because we have a whole lot of things that we have going, and all of our activities are really hands-on fun games, and we need some help. So if you are available, feel free to contact me at info@schooldazed.com. And next week we welcome Tamara Albury. She is the principal of Young Women's Leadership Academy, and we're going to discuss state testing.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much again for being with us. And as always, you can head to our website, schooldazeshow.com. And remember, you don't ever have to miss a show. Find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Music, and Stitcher.
And follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Noggin, that's Noggin Foundation. And we always want to end the show by saying that we, David and I, are parenting by grace. Mm-hmm. We depend on God to give us the wisdom and strength we need to raise our kids into flourishing adults. And if you want to know more about that, feel free to email us at info@schooldazedShow.com. Have a great week.
By Noggin Educational Foundation. At Noggin, we provide free educational resources to students from low-income